What's going on, guys? Today, Tesla stock took a massive nosedive, down $22 a share in the open market and down another $5 a share after hours. So we're going to figure out, do we sell the stock? Do we buy the stock? Do we buy the dip? What do we do with this play? Things that we do need to understand is that in the last month, Tesla stock is up 41%. It ran from 160 bucks all the way to about 260. So that's a massive move in 1 month. And the reason why Tesla's down 10%-ish today is because there's a robo-taxi event that's scheduled for August 8th. There's rumors, especially from Bloomberg, where the whole thing spilled out, was this was going to be pushed back to October. So right when this news came out, shares started tanking. So here's what CNBC said. Tesla shares closed down about 8% on Thursday after Bloomberg reported that electric vehicle maker is delaying the unveiling of its robo-taxi by 2 months. It was originally supposed to be done on August 8th, and then they pushed it back to October. So here's where people get a little bit nervous about this, is Tesla's valuation comes from two things, robo-taxi and the Optimus robot. If robo-taxi doesn't come when it's supposed to come, that valuation of Tesla where it just pumped 40%, that could all be erased. You know, there's a lot of speculation and a lot of people that are nervous about what do we do right now? Like, how do we justify Tesla's PE ratio of 61? 61 times earnings is a lot if you just say it's a car company. But if you say it's an autonomous car company and you say they have robotaxis and you say they have a humanoid robot that could do so much stuff for you, then it could be worth so much more. It could be worth 20 trillion is what people are saying. And the market cap right now is only 755 billion. So I mean, that could be like a 25x right there. So we need to try to figure out what we're going to do with this. So if we look at a 1-year chart, Tesla's kind of been bobbing and weaving around, and then it made this huge pump coming up. So 5 years ago, it was like this. Started running up real big, hit over $400 a share, came down, came up, came down. So this pump right here was definitely overblown. There wasn't that much of earnings, and there was a lot of hype built into FSD, full self-driving, but it just really wasn't there yet. And I have a Tesla, I have a Model Y, I have the most updated FSD 12.4.3. It's pretty good, still needs work. It's a little bit cautious around things, especially at like four-way intersections where there's all stop signs. But it's getting better every update, and the rate of improvement is pretty good. So I think like maybe in the next 4 or 5 months, it's going to be ready to be deployed. And even if in its current form, it could probably do like 95% of all Uber drives, no problem, and you would feel pretty safe. So you think that you guys might have got hammered today? I mean, this is my portfolio. I'm down $27,000 today. It's funny that it's 666. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Gary Black has been a Tesla proponent for a while. He said on X, to be fair, other than that Tesla just went up 40% in 10 days on an unexpected second quarter deliveries beat, Tesla shouldn't be down 6% today on news that delaying its robotaxi unveil from August to October. So that's something to think about, is what is a couple months? What is a couple months to unveil something that could totally change the world? Does it really matter dropping the price of the company by 10%? Yeah, maybe, he said it too optimistically that 8.8 is when they're going to do it. Maybe he should have just said fall or winter of 2024. That maybe would have been better so that this event didn't have to happen. And another good point is a 2-month delay in a robotaxi shouldn't erase $50 billion in market cap, especially when most analysts don't even include FSD in their price targets for Tesla. So it's kind of like analysts will sit there and say, oh, Tesla's never going to achieve FSD, they're never going to get it. But now when there's maybe a slight hiccup where they got to delay it a couple months, it's like, oh my God, they're not going to make it. Now we got to drop the price of the stock 10%. But why would the price go down 10% if they didn't actually give it that extra valuation from the first place? So none of it makes sense. So here's how I like to invest. I have a portfolio here, $666,000. I started this with $0 4 years ago. I'm just a regular guy. I have a day job. I don't make millions of dollars a year. The whole purpose of this YouTube account is to try to help you guys organize your thoughts and figure out, what do I need to do? Do I need to panic sell? Do I need to panic buy? What do I do? And I like to keep things very simple. When you go watch like Jim Cramer on TV, on CNBC, he's in the business of selling you to his service where he'll advise you on, hey, what stock should I buy? What stock should I sell? That's called his action alerts program. The problem with that is it's kind of like saying if you give a carpenter a nail, he's going to hit it into something. So when you give Jim Cramer an option to buy or sell a stock, he's going to give you his opinion, and it's going to be complicated, and he's going to try to make it complicated so that you feel like you're not smart enough to do it yourself, so that you give him your money to try to do that for you. Hopefully that all made sense, but long story short is he's in the business of making money in fees from you and monthly subscriptions. All financial advisors are. So they want it to seem as complicated as possible so that you feel like you can't do it yourself, so that you give your money to them. So this is just a chart that I'm going to pull up right here. S&P 500 inflation adjusted historical price. So the blue line right here is the S&P 500. The red line is the mean, the average of all the S&P 500. So here's what you need to understand, okay? Think of right here where it dips. It's like pulling a rubber band down and then you let it go. When you stretch the rubber band down, the tendency is that it wants to fling up, okay? Because it wants to just stay at that mean state. So when you let it go, it flings up. Now when you fling up and you go a little bit above the line, you're pulling a rubber band this way, and when you let it go, it wants to fling down. So that's where it flings down right here. Then you take a rubber band, you pull it down, ping, it goes up. Then when you go up here, you pull the rubber band up and you let it go, it wants to go down. So this right here is called reversion to the mean. So when we go back to Tesla stock and see what is the mean, you know, we'll put it on a 1 month chart. It went straight up, but maybe the mean line is kind of like right here. So when you stretch it up, it wants to ping down because earnings typically, the price of the stock typically will follow what the earnings are doing. So back to a 5-year chart, if we draw a line on Tesla stock like at the tip of my cursor right here, this is probably where the stock should have been. So this whole area right here was overvalued. This was a little bit undervalued. But if we go and connect the dots, maybe we're just a little bit overvalued right here. Maybe in the last month, it shouldn't have went from 170 to 260. It maybe should have went from 170 to 200-ish. But it kind of got blown out of proportion right here. And then when something not perfect news comes out, that's where the rubber band that got stretched up so hard, it releases and it goes down. So this might sound crazy, but this is really how stocks work. It's just like a pendulum of fear and greed, fear and greed. This was all greed up here. And one lick of baddish news that comes out, everyone starts to get fearful. And the best thing that Warren Buffett said for people to do is, when people are greedy, you should be fearful. So he's saying this is when people are greedy because the stock, they're just pumping the stock up, you should be fearful. But now, when people are starting to get fearful right now, you should be greedy. You can now buy stock in Tesla at a roughly 10% discount rate now. So do you want to buy Tesla stock 10% off? Well, the typical person is going to be like, oh, well, now I think it's going to fall another 10% because I want to get it 20% off. And eventually, as you keep stretching that rubber band down right here, it will eventually fling up and you'll miss the boat. So you need to be confident that you like Tesla stock. You trust what they're trying to do with FSD, Optimus, electric cars, all that stuff, energy deployment. If you believe in the company, no one should be able to convince you otherwise of should I buy or sell the stock. Not even me. I'm not trying to convince you what to do. Nothing I say here is financial advice. I'm just telling you that as Tesla stock goes down in price, it's becoming safer to buy because it can't go down 10% every day forever. It has intrinsic value. The company is doing crazy things. And if they get FSD and they get the Optimus robot fully scaled out mainstream 5-10 years from now, everyone's saying that this is going to be like a $20 trillion company. That's like a 25x. So if that's a 25x, what does it matter if it falls $22 a share right now? That's nothing. That's going to be a little blip on the chart 5-10 years from now. So that's what I got for you guys. I'm going to make videos every couple days. This is a new YouTube account. A lot of my friends ask me, what do you do in finance? How do you make money? What kind of options do you trade? Stuff like that. I'm going to start making videos on everything. So if you want to try to convert your portfolio from 0 to 600K in 4 years, I'll help you out. So like, subscribe. Thanks, guys.